Welcome to this Zentangle Quickie. My name is Heather Hartwick Gladden. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher, and today we're going to take a look at a Zentangle original tangle called Hurry. All right, this is a neat one, and I got to thinking, gosh, it's been a while since I've done a Zentangle original tangle. There's a plethora of other tangles out there, and this is a nice one. So I was searching for inspiration and I found it here. All right, I am going to, yes, do the four corners since we're doing a Zentangle original tangle, because this is part of the Zentangle method. If you've never taken, I don't like to call it a beginner's class, I call it Zentangle Essentials. Others will call it a 101 or beginner's class. Make sure you do so you understand the method that is Zentangle. It's so much more than just the awesome Zentangles that we end up with, and all of that fantasticness. Okay, this one starts off, and there are two ways to do it, but I'm going to show one way. All right, with it just a double line, I'm going to go from top to bottom. It was very awkward feeling to do that, which just reinforces the fact that make sure your hand is comfortable. Utilize, I don't necessarily want so much of a curve, but you can. But when you plant your hand down, it's easier to do both, either a curve that will be consistent or a nice straight line. This one is going to be a great practice in halabow. And if I will show you what halabow is, if you don't know. All right, so then we're going to do the same thing, going the what would that be? Perpendicular? Okay. Drawing a straight line and not going over, lifting up the pen, putting it down on the other side. I travel it as if I'm continuing. It's much better to do it that way. This is at least a thin line, so it's a little bit easier when you end up having a lot of space to go over. It's almost more, it makes it more important to have your pen travel as if you're drawing. It's the continuous thought idea is what you want, because then it looks like you've drawn underneath, and that's part of it. So is having that continuous process there. All right, we're essentially drawing an asterisk. So you do a cross, and then I'm going to go from corner to corner. And same thing with the double lines. So what I aim for on the double lines is just a little bit to either side of that center. Okay, and you know what? And I want to know in the comments, if when you saw me when I said going diagonal, was that the first thing that popped into your head? Was, do I aim for the center? Do I go a little off center? Because when I was looking at this tangle, that was the first thing I was like, oh wait, where do I aim? I must know, because I don't want to just do it. I just like to know who my kindred spirits are. That's why I asked that. All right, so we have essentially made an asterisk. I'm going to complete these little lines here because it does matter if you stop just before. It kind of wrecks the halabow concept, because then you have this gap. But sometimes it can't be helped, so we just touch it up with just a little tap. Okay. Now, one thing about this that I noticed, at least starting off, remember which way you started. So this was one reason I'm like going, I'm going to go to the flat sides of the square and then to the corners, because we're going to continue to do this, and I'm going to break my own, well, it's not a rule, it's just a convenience thing. So we're going to, well, we're auraing and halabowing at the same time. Oh my goodness. So we're going to aura this line, but we're going to halabow underneath this section here. So attempting to keep the same distance. Now here, don't worry, we're not putting, we're not putting, the little dots under here. Normally, if I was hollowbowing, um, and if I was just drawing a line this way, I would put a little line right there because it would go, and that's what makes it convincing. But here, it's a different thing. So normally, I don't like to do this when I'm hollowbowing because I like to see what's underneath. You can flip your tile back and forth. I'm just being lazy. So, and I'm happy to admit that because we're all friends, right? It's all good. Okay. So doing it on both sides. So it's helpful to remember. Okay, started. You can remember this cross, and then we'll do this one, and we're gonna keep going back and forth that way. So if depending on how you do yours, you just want to make sure to remember that we're alternating these. Okay, and we're just doing one on the right side. Whoa, and one. And don't worry about it if it goes weird like that. Just keep going. One on the left side, and then I'm turning. So then we get the crisscross, and then we're going to go back to the original, and same thing, just one on either side. When it gets to be this distance, and I found myself being tempted and doing it too, just doing here and then here. But like I said, there's something to having this continuous thought, even if there's a bit of a difference. Now, there's a point, when if you get to these little corners, then of course, all right, and then two going slow. It's like, oh, okay, look at those are thicker. Okay, so I did those. Now I'm on the cross, and it doesn't matter which side you do first. That I did note. It's just that we're alternating either the criss or the cross. And like I said, you keep going until you don't have any more space. Or I suppose if you wanted to have it stop at a certain point, you know, like that, then you could. And you could do something, in those open areas. So I will be putting two links in the description section besides my own step out, which will have both this and then the other one, the other version listed. Because as I was looking, I found this. Oh, this is in my Zenthology, and a Zenthology is something that CZTs get when we go through the training, and it has all of the Zentangle original tangles to date. And so I actually think I found it on somebody had posted on Pinterest first, actually, and it linked to an old blog post. Sometimes I have to pause. It's like, do I have it? And then you know what? If you get stuck, you can count these little steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. And then, oh yes, I'm on the crisscross. Um, so it linked to a blog post, and on that one, they oh, there we go. Sometimes it's not easy to talk and do this at the same time, but I want to impart this information. Okay, and then the diag. All right. So anyway, and they did it on with starting with 3. And so and I'll show you because I did a sample of it, and whoops, I did do this with a little bit of a curve, so that's why I'm flipping it the other direction. Actually, you can also tell which place you landed or you've gone last because this I would have the diagonal would have one on top where if I'm looking this way, the diagonal's on top, so that means that this one's next. And this, like, see, we're just filling in. I'll have a little bit of extra room here, but just keeping it in order is good. So anyway, it was like it starts with 3, Which, one of the neat things about that is, if you want to hurry through this, um, then it, for whatever reason, it seems to go a little bit quicker when you're doing 3 lines at a time. And I'm gonna just do that. There's really not room there. There we go. Okay. Now, let's see. So shading, a couple things. Number one, you can shade the entire design if you wanted to. But this one is kind of neat. So here's what I'm actually going to do is, so you can see where everything kind of intertwines, and these are where they're going under the other. I'm just going to put some graphite here going in a diagonal. The lines are frankly too small. I mean, unless you want to spend the time, you could just do a little here, a little here. This is just plenty easy. Let's see. Oh, this has a little bit of... Okay, I'll just be careful not to use this side. The side that I have up. Alright, so I was using it for something else. It has some blue on it. And I'm just using more of a sweeping motion versus little circles. Just kind of a back and forth along that line of graphite. Yeah, you can see. Oh my goodness, that's so cool. How it just comes to life. Really, really, wow. Neat. Neat, neat. Now you could do this, of course, like at an angle. It depends, and this can fill any section, which is rather neat. I just like to do it this way, so that way I have some order with it. But you could do it a little bit on a slant, so that way it's not exactly looking like a cross in your. Oh, you could do it that way. Anyway, you can play with that and have fun. All right, so here is the one with 3 lines. It's saying it looks like two, but it's 3 lines that create 2 spaces, and you can see the difference. And actually, this one you would shade a little bit differently, because we have this nice line with the steps there. But this one, let's see. So if we're just focusing on the over under, let's do. Well, this one will be a little corner, so we'll get that. And then just finding the overs. And this you could kind of retrace your steps, if you will. I don't normally also reach over. Apparently, this is just a lazy night. It's Friday. It just goes to show, it's like there are guidelines and suggestions in Zentangle. Does it mean you have to follow everything? Heck no. We kind of laugh about that. I do hear people say, "Oh, Zentangle has so many rules." It's like, well, they're not really rules, and those rules were kind of made to be broken. It's just you have to understand why there are certain guidelines in place, so that way it makes sense. And I do like to share that. That's why I like to share those things. Like reaching over. I remember hearing Rick say to put the tip of your pencil where you want the the graphite to be darkest, and then the same goes with the tortillon. It's like, oh well, that makes sense. And then two, the less chance of goofing up. That's really that's more of my reason. Because when you're reaching over, like that, you're not getting that tip. Well, and that's that. I guess is his point. Where you want the graphite the darkest, that's where you would put it. I feel like I'm missing something, but as I bring this shading out, we'll find out. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm just moving. Like, oops, There'll be okay. Well, now I have to do that for each one. There'll be a little blue. Let me alternate it. There's gonna be a little. Oh yeah, and you can barely even see that in there. Okay, consistency is key. And then, like I said, same idea. I'm just going to, and actually, maybe I'll do it this way. Just bringing the graphite out just a bit, and then and this is the same reasoning as I just mentioned, putting the tip of the tortillon on the line where you want it to be darkest, also where you don't want it to go over, so that way if you are making circles, then it's you're grabbing the graphite and you're going down, or at least here you're just going maybe side to side, and it just makes it easier. And not that things can't ever go awry, but you know, it just makes for more consistency, and that's always a good thing, especially when we're doing this. All right. And once you get into kind of the routine of switching your tile, as you can see, you know, it's you know, the pinky action. I just well, I just crack myself up. That's all. And you don't even think about it after a while. It's just it becomes uh, part of your being as you're tangling, and you don't think about it unless you go to teach somebody about it, and then you have to think about it, and then you realize, gosh, that's such an ingrained habit now. All right, there we go. So it took a little bit more time on the shading side. Um, Honestly, it took a little less time because it fills it up easier. So let me just share this too. And I have it in the step outs. So just like here, we put after the first steps, right? We put one on either side. On here, you're putting three on either side at a time. So after you get the first three lines done in the asterisk, again, so three lines, and it's just there's not a lot of flipping of the tile. Where here you're going back and forth a lot more. Easier on the brain. Maybe that's the way to say it. Easier on the brain. But neat. Two different results. Really, really cool. And you know, sometimes thoughts go through your head, and then it just makes me laugh. So I'm sorry. I'm going to keep that one to myself though. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, would love to have a thumbs up or a like. Feel free to share it. And if you liked it enough to see more, I would love to have you be a subscriber to the channel. Of course, that's free. And feel free to leave comments in the comment section. I have learned this is what helps the algorithm. And so when you do those things, it helps me out a lot. So if you enjoy it and you want to, you know, I see my videos be more widespread, that's how you help me do that. Because that's how the computers say, oh, this one liked it, so this other person might like it. And that's how it learns to share. So again, I appreciate any and all of those efforts. In the description section below the step out links, ways to connect with me. So again, if you enjoy my goofiness, would love to have you join me for even more goofiness, because birds of a feather flock together, right? And so we have a whole bunch of us that gather online on Thursdays, primarily, because I do a free session, and we would do something like this where we take one tangle and we all have fun with it, explore it. This one we maybe would do two. I don't know. It would just depend. But I try to just see what would fit in an hour's time. Generally, it's one tangle, and it's amazing to see what everybody does with it, and it's a really, really good time. So would love to have you join us. Information is on my website. I also have classes on Tuesday. Those ones generally are paid. I do have one on a Tuesday that is not. That's my Tough Tangle Tuesday. But that helps me keep afloat here. So I appreciate everybody that joins in on those, and then also that are members of my Tangle Addicts membership club, which is essentially like a subscription club. So come check us out for free, and if you like it enough, then you can take a look at the rest. All right, so with that, thanks so much for watching, and I wish you happy tangling.